Hello everyone, I'm Anubit and welcome to yet another Team Fortress 2 mapping video. So, what will be happening today? Well, it'll be a bit of texture work in a few of the red space parts. It'll be a very small section though. It'll be this this small computer office room. I guess you could say that you can't even get into. But it's one you can look into through a piece of glass, which you'll see in a bit throughout this video. And actually also the room you see in the thumbnails of this video. Back then I had put these walls on actually, but they weren't perfect. I just quickly threw them on for the actual thumbnail. So I decided to do this over again. I had to figure out how the heck actually to make this. And decided to go the same plane all along. My main problem is that it's a lot of the same color, but at the same time I thought it looked quite nice to have this red and white continue on through this building. Again, the idea is that the red are a bit more industrial focused, and therefore I thought that could look well and fit with it. So this is mainly that. Then there's a small office room next to it, basically overlooking it all, which should look close to the same, but not entirely. It ended up being very close to, though, as you can see. These will all be changed a bit again. That's one of the things I don't feel. I mean, unlike the lights, I've done this a lot of times before, but it's still something that I am not an expert at, I guess you could say, to find a fitting texture. I can play around and swap around constantly to find something I actually feel fits. I mean, I cannot look at something I'm like, yeah, this could actually work, and then come back to it a week or even more later on and start to realize this does actually maybe not work as I thought it would, and end up changing it after that. This, however, as you can see here, is the actually red spawn. You may not be able to see that actually, that's a stupid assumption of mine, but what I was meant to say is this is the red spawn where all red players will respawn after being killed, basically. Again, it's the same overall building, and I was thinking first if I should go for another texture theme or not, but ended up being the same. It may not do through the entire base, but I think it will be the same theme at early. It'll probably not be the entire same colors. It may be a total red at some points, as an example. But yeah, maybe actually, I think I'll do that downstairs. Anyways, instead of just thinking too much out into the future, we'll look here. Again, I'm going with this red. I had a lot of struggle because I wanted this red block / barrier to fit onto the left side of these stairs. You can see, you cannot right now since it's zoomed in, but there are, on the left side of the stairs, there is only a small section where the wall doesn't go up onto the very roof. So I wanted this red block base to go only just to fit with that block and not go further up, like this basically, as you can see. So I spent a lot of time getting that perfect, basically. I can be quite a, how should I put it, well, sometimes I really put a lot of effort into a very small thing that no one but me really would notice, but I guess that's the point of a designer to an extent when it comes to such. Then these, bugged me a bit out by basically repeating this red block again, forcing me to put two walls on top of each other instead of one big one. Not really a big issue, it just took a bit of time to put it into place, really, since it had to be done with all the walls that, well, were at that height, which was most of them. So that means shrinking them a bit down, then pulling one up on top of it and making that into the right size, and then, well, basically from there, went off on a note, basically from there making it to the right position, since because it's copied, it messes out the position. And this is something I don't have to go into detail with since this isn't a tutorial. I'm very sorry. Anyways, to get off that and back to where the interesting part comes, on texturing the walls here. sorry, to actually see already now, it is a quite decent looking room. Even just these walls, I mean, it's amazing how quickly some textures can give more of an experience to the room. I mean, it gives a lot more life, I guess you could say, just by seeing how much it changes. There's some stuff here and there that has to be changed. As example, these bars. I spent an awful lot of time switching between different metals to find what actually had to be done. And I'm still not entirely sure if I picked the right one. But there was a lot of changing in between them and what actually to do with them. And I wasn't entirely sure what to pick, again as mentioned. But I started going through these lovely amount of textures. Well, one of the problems is as well that it's not only Team Fortress 2 textures here, but also Counter-Strike ones, which I wouldn't want to pick ideally, since they don't really fit into the theme. But yeah, there weren't a lot of Team Fortress 2 ones, so it's like, okay, I think this may work. So it's about, again, picking everything or marking everything and trying to pull it on. I was like, it could work. My main problem was that it was a lot like the floor. And I should probably add that the floor will of course be changed, since it is this grey placeholder which I've mentioned in the past. But then I found this greyish chrome looking one, which I found a bit more well fitting for my taste. It looked quite decently. So it's again about marking everything once again and then replacing that current texture. And that was basically on to the next part of the texturing, being the floor. Again, that was again something I really struggled with, because I felt that a whitish color could fit in well, but then everything would be white and look too much the same in the room, which wouldn't be ideal whatsoever. Then I started looking through some different textures. Again, this one could be an idea, I thought. Played around with that, basically putting everything floor-wise to become that. And it was alright, as you can see here, but at the same time I felt it was maybe a bit too dark. If that makes sense. I mean, it could easily work, but it's just like I didn't really like it too much. And then I went through it again to see are there anything else where these tiles basically I felt were representing what I was planning to get a bit better. And finally, before showing it off all its glory, I of course had to add the ceiling, which I actually originally had forgotten. Again, this is something I'm not so certain if I've picked the right one yet. Again, as everything else, I jumped a bit around between different texture materials, and I just didn't feel them look quite right. The blue one wouldn't fit to a red building, where I ended up picking this a bit more darkish red-orangey one. It could work, but I feel like it's maybe a bit too orange. Anyways, let's jump on to the actual show off here in the end. First, from the actual player perspective. And looking around in the main base, where it's so big a difference it's made just to apply the textures and the props that were there in the first place as well, of course. And then onto this nice computer room. And then a few lovely angles as well from the camera. But while these are showing off, I would like to thank you guys. I hope I will see you next time. Please take care.